Next from Springfield, Ted Dabrowski, the Vice President of Policy for the Illinois Policy Institute, explains why his organization is against Pension Reform Bill 6258. This runs about 10 minutes.
Ted Dabrowski of the Illinois Policy Institute, thanks for joining us. You just heard the press conference about the release of House Bill 6258 on the pension reform. What is the take of the Illinois Policy Institute on the bill?
Well, look, I think first of all, we're excited that a group of legislators have gotten together to finally propose a plan. We couldn't get a plan out of leadership, so this group got together, and we're happy to see that. Unfortunately, we feel that the current plan falls way short of what's needed, and I think it shows that the politicians still don't understand the full scale of the problems in Illinois. This proposal continues to depend on the defined benefit structure, which I think is the biggest problem we have in Illinois, and it fails to move towards a defined contribution system.
Parts of the proponents of the bill, the backers of the bill, say that it does move more towards a defined contribution system. Why do you say it doesn't?
Well, so the Tier 2 for newer employees, they have a cash balance plan, and they say that it's a combination or the best of both a 401k and a defined benefit plan. But what effectively it does is it guarantees a return for retirees and continues to keep taxpayers on the hooks if there are any shortfalls in the pension system. So it's really not like a 401k.
But on the other hand, doesn't it, are you making an argument, as some would say, that you're allowing the perfect to be the enemy of the good? Isn't this a vast improvement over the current situation relative to the cost to taxpayers?
No, I think what we need to do is protect retirees, the state worker retirements. And this proposal doesn't do that. It has good components. It does reduce some of the costs. But what it doesn't do is it doesn't secure retirements in the future, and it doesn't turn Illinois around. The size of the problem is much larger, and the size of the reforms need to be much larger. Otherwise, we'll continue this problem we have for another 5, 10, 15 years.
Now, I know you haven't had much chance to look at this.
Sure.
It just came out, and they just announced it this morning. But have you done any financial? I mean, as the backers said, they haven't even themselves done an actuarial accounting of this to see how it would be scored and how much savings.
Sure.
How do you know, based upon what are you saying that it wouldn't save enough money?
Okay, first of all, the new accounting standards by Moody's, by the Governmental Accounting Standards Board, say that the outstanding liabilities or the unfunded liabilities of Illinois are not $96 billion, but over $200 billion. That's the reality, and we're still working off of old numbers.
Is that including non-state workers?
That's just the 5 state pension systems. Okay. So we're talking about a much bigger liability. So any reforms that we do have to be much larger. Rhode Island, who had the second worst pension systems in the world, passed much bolder reforms than these that have been proposed. What we need to do is have the boldest reforms in the nation. We have run numbers, and we know that freezing COLAs, for example, can cut almost a third of the unfunded liability. This proposal today only partially reduces the COLA. And if we don't do this, the retirement systems could run out of money. So we have to be careful that.
Wouldn't you say that it's guaranteed they'll run out of money?
Sure, I can't guarantee anything, but there's a risk there. And I think what we have to remember is that whatever we're doing is trying to make sure that taxpayers aren't always on the hook when the pension system goes bad, and that retirees from the government can't count on a good retirement. We don't want them to continue to believe in this false hope of compounded COLAs that go on into the future. They may never happen.
On the other hand, how do you get around, obviously everyone here is trying to construct a bill that'll meet the constitutional test that says in the Constitution of Illinois that you cannot diminish pension benefits. What would you do that would be constitutional?
So what we do is we make sure that in a proposal that we've shared, we make sure that all benefits already earned are protected. Those have been earned. Going forward, however, we believe that all future benefits that are earned should be part of a defined contribution system. So we only affect benefits going forward. COLAs, of course, and COLA reforms are still part of the debate. We believe that is not a constitutionally protected benefit, and that's one of the first things that needs to be reformed if we want to get this situation under control.
But if you do it just going forward, what do you do about those who are already retired and seeking getting benefits?
So we wouldn't affect their benefits. COLA reform would affect current retirees, but otherwise the benefits that have been earned would continue to be in place.
And how much of the $200 billion, if you to use your numbers, of the unfunded liabilities, are from those who are already retired, and how much
Right.
going forward is from those who are still working?
So generally, 60% of the state's unfunded liabilities come from the retirees, and 40% is coming from current employees.
So of the 60% that are, of the problem that's from current retirees, you would change the COLA on them. How much of a savings would that enact?
So based on the official numbers of 96 billion, the freezing of the COLAs for the long term until the retirement system is back to in health would save nearly a third of that. So it's significant. Anywhere from 20 to 30% of the unfunded liability could be reduced by freezing COLAs.
What do you do about the other two-thirds?
So then you do the retirement age. This proposal had some
On the current workers?
correct, on current workers. You increase the retirement age, but it has to go further than what's been proposed here. Rhode Island, for example, went to 67. Social Security is 67. Tier 2 plan is 67. The current proposal was much softer, moves in the right direction, but it's not enough.
Actually, what is the proposal?
Anywhere from 1 to 5 years, depending on age.
67 or 5 years after retirement, right?
No, so it raises retirement ages by anywhere from 1 to 5 years. So depending on what the current retirements are, those can be increased by 1 to 5 years depending on age.
Okay. So you would raise the retirement higher,
Correct,
you would freeze COLAs,
correct.
so no 3% on the first 25,000, you would have no increase at this point?
No increase at all.
What else, anything else?
It's important to make sure that we calculate final salary more conservatively so that we don't get salary spiking, raising the pensionable salaries at the very end of a career. Another important point is capping pensionable salaries so that we don't have people earning pensions on a very, very high salary. And those, of course, and then moving to a defined contribution would then allow us to have a more affordable system, and the money that's saved from that could be used to reduce the unfunded liability.
Okay, and you don't think any of those changes would be in violation of the Constitution?
You know, we don't believe so. Obviously, unions may think differently, but we believe that as long as we're protecting benefits that have already been earned, then we're doing right by the Constitution. But going forward for those benefits that have not been earned, we would of course reform those.
All right, Ted Dabrowski, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
You're watching the Illinois Channel, an independent nonprofit corporation formed to provide gavel-to-gavel coverage of Illinois state government and other public affairs events taking place across Illinois.